Kadosh Boker Or. We are on daf Bet. Masechet Bava Kamma daf Bet. Amud Aleph 72a1. We got to the two dots. We're just gonna start again. Just the last lines, where it's saying that he comes and he says that he didn't understand the reasoning of the concept, and we asked what was the difference between the Reisha and the Seifa. So he said in the Reisha it's called Utvacho. The entire thing was done Beisur. Okay, which means the entire thing was done Beisur. And therefore he's going to be obligated to pay his brothers his portion. But in the Seifa, where the son comes and he slaughtered it after he already came and he inherited it from the father, so it's not Utvacho Beisur, because at the end of the day, now part of it belongs to him. So therefore the entire Tvicha is not Beisur. Okay? Fine. We're on the two dots. The two dots is like this. Ashochet v'nimtzet terefa. So if you remember, we said that if a person comes and he does shechita, and it was a terefa, or he does shechita to chulin ba'azra. We're talking about a person that steals, and then he comes and he does the shechita. So again, by the stealing, he's already chayav the keren and plus the kefen. Once he comes and he does the shechita ul mechira, אז הוא חייב 45. עכשיו, הוא שחט, טבחו, אבל מה זה היה? זה היה טרפה. Or חולין לעזרה. So we had a machloke between Rabbi and Tana Kama, if he's going to be chayav or not. So it says over here like this. Elmaleh Rav Chavivi mechozna'a leRavashi. It says Rav Chavivi mechozna'a to Ravashi. Shema mina, we learn from here, ena leshchita ela levasof. מה זאת אומרת? אין על השחיטה אלא לבסוף. The מעשה השחיטה is only called shechita at the end. Meaning when you start the process, that's not called shchita. The shchita is only at the end. De'i yeshna leshchita mitchila ve'ad sof. Because if you're going to tell me now that the entire מעשה השחיטה is going to be from the beginning until the end, kevan deshachat bapurta, right? Since he comes and he says immediately when you started the shchita and you did shachat behema a little bit, right? It was a sra. He prohibited it. So idach lo demare katavach, which means like this. If you're going to tell me now that the shchita is from the beginning until the end, so the second that you started doing the shchita a little bit, you already prohibited the animal bahana'ah because it was chulin ba'azara. And therefore, once you prohibited the animal bahana'ah because it's chulin ba'azara, you were in the azara and you're doing chulin. So idach la demare katavach. So then when you're finishing the shchita, right? And that's when you're going to be paying the Bava Kamma. So you're not slaughtering the animal of the Baalim because it's already a subana, because you already started. Which one? So says the Gemara, Amale Rav Huna bered Rava, says Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi, Kika mechayev, when we're going to be mechayev the ganav with tashlumei Bava Kamma, ahu purta. We're going on that little tiny bit that you already started. Meaning, when you're already going to pay Bava Kamma, it's not when you finish the shechita. Even when you start the shechita, so therefore it comes at the same time. Even when you start the shechita, you're already going to be chayav on the Bava Kamma. So therefore, even if he's still not dead, but you started the shechita. So even though at the end of the day, when you don't need the finishing. That means even though when you finish the shechita, it already was a surbana, and therefore it doesn't belong to the owners anymore. But it doesn't matter. I don't need that. Even without that, you're already going to be chayav. So Elmaleh Ravashi comes and he says, La tidche. You don't even have to say that. He says, why? Utvacho kulo bainan veleka. He says, you cannot come and tell me that. You know why? Because when it says utvacho, you need the entire tvicha. You need the entire shchita. Meaning, if you only started the shchita, but you didn't finish the shchita, okay, you started it, but you didn't finish. Utvacho tvicha. Tvicha is shchita. Like a tabach. What does a tabach do? Slaughters it.
It has to be the entire shchita.
The entire shchita.
So we have the three cases.
Yesterday we saw that. Asobana at the beginning, chayav arba v'chamisha at the end.
At the end.
Another one said at the end you have ana and
both of them. And now we're saying at the beginning. Now we're saying at the beginning, and then Ravashi comes and he says, no, you can't say that. Why? Because you would never be chayav the Bava Kamma before the end. Because it has to be the end. Because when it says utvacho, it means kulo. The entire thing. You do tvicha. So says the Gemara, Ela kashya. So we have the question now, right? So what's the question? The question is that in our Mishnah, according to the Shita that says that Shchita is from the beginning until the end, according to them, when you have Behemat Chulin Shenishchata Ba'azara, it becomes a Sur Bana'am immediately. So for how are you going to be Chayav? Bava Kamma then. Okay? So Elmaleh, so he comes and he tells him, Hachi Amar Rav Gamda Mishmed Rava. This is what Rav Gamda said in the name of Rava. Kegon, for example, Sheshachat Miktzat Simanim Bachutz, Ugmaran Bifnim. Says, you know what happened? You did Shchita, right, on part of the Simanim, right, outside of the Azara, and then you finished it, right, on the inside. What does that mean? You finished the Shchitat, the Rov, inside the Azara. So it comes out that the Behemah is going to be prohibited because of Chulin Shenishchatu Ba'azara, only Bigmara Shchita, at the end. But beforehand, all the Maaseh Shchita, it doesn't become Asur. So now it comes out, like what the doctor just said before, that everybody agrees that everything's going to be at the end, not the beginning. Meaning, even the Chulin Ba'azara only becomes prohibited in the end. And also the paying of the Tashumi Arba V'Chamisha is also going to be only at the end. Okay? Fine. So now, Ika Dematnila, aha. Some people, they want to learn the diyun of Rav Chaviva and Rav Ashi on another machloket. What was the other machloket? Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, says Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Mishum de Rabbi Levi Sava, in the name of Rabbi Levi Saba, Ena l'shchita ela levasof. There is no maaseh shchita, which is called shchita, only until the end. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan says, Yeshna l'shchita, right? There is shchita mitchila ve'ad sof, the entire time, from the beginning until the end. So Elmaleh Rav Chavivi michozna al Rav Ashi, says Rav Chavivi michozna al Rav Ashi, leima kasava Rabbi Yochanan. So why don't we just say that Rabbi Yochanan holds that chulin shenishchatu ba'azara lav doraita? Why don't I say so? 1 second. So it comes out that maybe does he hold that it's not going to be asur banami Torah, meaning it's not doraita? Because that's what we're trying to say. That it basically, what are we trying to say? He's trying to say that according to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, ena l'shchita levasof, it's only going to be at the end. And Rabbi Yochanan says, yeshna l'shchita from the beginning until the end. So therefore, according to that, are you going to tell me then that it's not going to be doraita? Right? Okay, this is a whole machloket actually in the Gemara Masechet Kiddushin. Is chulin shenishchat ba'azara, is that going to be asur bana min Torah or midrabbanan? There's a machloket there in the Gemara. Okay, this is what we're just mentioning right now, but it's a machloket in the Gemara. Okay, so answers the Gemara. Ayin bet amud aleph, ayin bet amud bet, sorry, right? 72b. Di sal kadaita doraita. Now, why do I have to say this? Because if I'm going to tell you now that it's going to be doraita, he says michishachi lepurta. The second he does a little bit of the shchita, asra ve'idach. The same question that we had immediately. If you're going to tell me right now that that means the second that you're starting the shchita, what's going on? You already prohibited to the azara. So therefore it comes out, idach, lav demara katabach. So therefore it comes out that when you're going to be mashich and to finish off the shchita, so therefore what's going on? So Elmaleh Ravacha bered Rava, says Ravacha bered Rava, kik michayev nami, kika michayev nami hi au purta. He says when you're going to be mitchayev, the ganav to pay, he comes and he says, is also on the beginning part, meaning the ganav is not going to pay at the end, meaning if you're already going to tell me that everything's done at the beginning, even the arba v'chamisha is going to be done at the beginning. The second that he starts the shchita, now he's already chayav the arba v'chamisha, according to what we're saying now. And again, Elmaleh Rav Ashi is going to push it up. Remember, the Ika de Amri is another version. This version, well, that's why we're going to have a repeat, right? The version was just teaching it on another braita, but it's the same flow, and that's what we're doing until now. So Elmaleh Rav Ashi said, no, you can't push it off because utvacho means the entire thing, as we already learned before. Utvacho kulo ba'in veleka, you need the entire tvicha. Elakashia, you're right. It's a good question then. So then what's the pshat then? How could it be then that you're going to tell me that chulin shenishchatu ba'azara is not going to be asur min Torah, right? That's what you have to prove. Elmaleh hachi amar Rav Gamda mishmed Rava ki kamechayev kigon sheshacha miktzat simanim mechutz u'gemara bifnim. You started part of the simanim on the outside of the azara. And then what you did was you finished it on the inside of the azara. So when you started on the outside, it wasn't chulin azara. When did it become chulin azara? Only on the inside. That means, okay, again, the case sounds very interesting. No, you start doing shchita outside, you bring the animal running inside, and then you finish. Okay, but That's kasha maisis to say. It's a question on the story, right? But meaning that the concept is there. The concept is that at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, he comes and he says, we're doing shchita on part of the simanim on the outside, and you're finishing it on the inside.
Only one simanim.
Mishnah and Ein Bet Amud Bet. Says the Mishnah. 72b the Mishnah. Ganav al pi shnayim v'tavach u'machar al pien. Imagine right now a person comes and he steals, right? And there are two people that are witnessing the stealing. And they are also witnessing that he did the tvicha u'mechira. Right? So they're the same witnesses. Same witnesses on the stealing, same witnesses on the selling or the slaughtering. And then they were found to be edim zomim. So mishalmim et hakol. They have to actually pay everything. What does that mean? All the arba v'chamisha.
First edim?
There's only two edim.
No, then there's two that come to Zomimim.
Well, so the ones that make them zomim are going to pay?
No.
I prove you wrong, I'm going to pay.
Them or if it's the Ganav.
No, the edim zomimim.
Okay.
The edim zomimim, obviously. Because the edim zomimim are the ones which are basically coming and saying, testifying falsely. So if they testify falsely and they wanted to come and make, let's say, Mordechai start paying money, he doesn't have to pay. So they have to pay instead of him. Kasher zamam, right? Kasher asar, right? What does that mean? Right? Just like they wanted to do, they're going to have to come and they're going to have to pay. Fine. Now it says, Ganav al pi shnayim v'tavach u'machar al pi shnayim acherim. What happens if you split it up? Two people are the witnesses on the stealing, and two people are the witnesses on the mitvicha u'mechira. Ve'elu ve'elu nimtzayim zomim. Now everybody's found to be zomim.
It's 4 edim.
There are 4
and then
2 and 2.
And then the other 4 that come.
No, you only need 2. You don't need 4.
You have 2 for the
Stealing. 2 for the tvicha u'mechira. And then you have edim come and make them in zomim. It could be 2. You don't need 4.
Ah, okay.
Right? Because us 2 could say all you 4 were with us in
minimum of 6.
Right? Minimum. Yeah. Okay. So he says, but it could also be 4. I just told you, because when you said it had to be another 4, I'm just saying it could be anything. You understand? It could be 10 witnesses coming and say, what do you guys, what are you guys saying? You guys were with us. It could be anything. You understand? But the concept is you have 2 and 2, and everybody's found zomim. So what would you say? The first group of witnesses should pay the what? Kefil. The last group of witnesses are going to pay tashlumeh shlosha. They're going to pay 3 times the amount. Right? Now, why 3 times the amount? Because instead of the 4, you're basically, exactly. So instead of counting, you're dividing.
It's finally they don't do 2. 4 minus 2.
So he says, no, because it could be 5. It depends what it was. If it's an ox or a sheep. Remember, it's either 4 or 5.
But it doesn't say.
No, you're right. Because here, obviously, we're talking about a shor. So on the shor, you're paying 3. If on the seh, you're paying 2. Because it's 2 minus 2. Right? If it's a seh. So it all depends what you're stealing. Nimtzeu acharonim zomemim. What happens if it's only the last ones were found zomemim, not the first ones? So therefore, the ganav has to pay kefil, because the ganav is bemet a ganav. He had 2 witnesses. But the other, the edim, the hen, they have to pay tashlumei shlosha or again shnayim. Again, depends what it is. Okay. Echad min acharonim zomim. What happens if only one of the witnesses were made at zomim, but of the last ones, meaning the last group of 2, only one? מה? כן, ודאי שאפשר לעשות. כן? למה? אתה אומר, אתה היית איתי, אני לא יודע עליו, אבל אתה היית איתי. לא יודע, you could say that.
Yeah.
So, בטלה העדות השנייה. The second you make one of the edim זומנים, the testimony is annulled.
You too.
Yeah, but you need to. So it's annulled. Okay? And therefore, the ganav only pays double. What happens if you made the first?
With the one that was made Zomem, does he have to pay something or not?
רגע, אז בקייס הראשון של המשנה.
So says the Mishnah, if right now one of the last ones were zomim batla edut shniya, but if it was the first ones which was zomemin, one of the first ones, so you have 2 and 2. Yeah, you're listening. 2 and 2. Don't ask questions. And then one of the first ones were made zomem. Batla kol edut. The entire thing is batel.
Because he's not a ganav.
Well, because if he's not a ganav, so it's not tvicha u'mechira. Meaning, even if you do have a guy coming and testifying he's slaughtered, or a guy, maybe it says, how do you know? If you don't have edim on the gineva, everything that comes afterwards is worthless. Because maybe I slaughtered my own animal. Maybe I sold my old animal. So you don't know. So then the entire thing doesn't help.
There's no roof if there's no wall.
Exactly. So now says the Gemara. So we finish the Mishnah, right? Says the Gemara. Yeah, Itmar. It was stated, Ed Zomem. Right? When you have a case of an Ed Zomem, that basically he comes, he testifies, Sheker benisan, right? And they didn't come, and they were mazimoto, they made him zomemim in Iyar. Right? So you have Nisan, and then you have in Iyar. Abaye comes and he says, Lemafreahu nifsal. What does that mean, Lemafreahu nifsal? Since he was muzam, he becomes the pasul le'edut lemafrea. Okay? And therefore, since it's going to be pasul le'edut lemafrea from the time that he testified in Nisan, so everything that happened in between also becomes pasul. Something incredible. So imagine, one more time. The guy comes and he testifies in Nisan. He only becomes an Ed Zomem in Iyar. So Abaye comes and he says everything that happened in between.
If he did other edut.
Yeah, if he did other edut, everything that happened in between, pasul edut. Because he was an Ed Zomem. And when did he give the testimony? In Nisan.
On any topic.
On any topic, anything. I don't care what it is. He's an Ed Zomem. So that's it. Yes. Rava comes and he says, no, mikanu laba. From now onwards. From now onwards. So now let's try to explain the machloket.
Leolam?
Well, obviously before doing teshuvah, yes. I'm saying, but we'll I don't know, I'm not sure exactly until when.
הוא לא כשר.
Yeah, but he's not kasher ledut. I don't know how that works to become kasher again. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's that mamash, but it's not that simple. Abaye comes and he says, lemafreya unifsal. Lemafreya, why? Me'ahu shata dasid havale rasha. When he testified falsely, he was a rasha. The Torah actually says, al tashet rasha ed. Al tashet, right? Meaning, when it says lo ta'aneh b'reacha et shaker, right? You're not allowed to testify falsely. The Torah says al tashet rasha ed. So therefore, if it's going to be like that, so then what's going to happen then? So Rava comes and he says, mikanu labahu nifsal. It's only going to be from now onwards, right? Why? Because it's an ed zomem is a chidush. Why? Because it's treu treidinu. It's going to be 2 against 2. So my chazi to tzait lehani, right? What did you see to listen to the other ones? Tzait lehani. Maybe you listen to the first ones, right? Meaning it's a gzerat hakatuv. Because at the end of the day, it's 2 against 2. 2 witnesses come and they say that the first 2 witnesses are adim zomim. It's 2 against 2. Why in the world are you believing the second group of witnesses and not the first group of witnesses? Doesn't really make sense. But rather, it's a gzerat hakatuv. Hilkach, therefore, en lecha bo ela mishat chidush ve'elach. You only have it from the time of the chidush, right, and onwards, which is from the time that he was muzam, that he was made hazama, and onwards, because that's when it's going to be the chal, the din, right, that they're going to accept the dut, right, of the 2 of them against them. But lemafreya, you don't say that. So ika de'amri, some people say, Rava nami kabaye sirle. The Rava comes and he actually he also holds a kabaye because it's only makes sense, right? The Amar that he actually comes and he says, lemafreya unusat. So then what's the reasoning of Rava then? At the end of the day, remember, according to Rava, he comes and he says, it's going to be trei utrei, and therefore it's mikar laba. But even Rava does hold of a baye, that technically speaking, it should be lemafreya. So what's the reasoning of Rava? He comes and he says, mishum pseida de lekuchot. He says, imagine all the people that if you're going to come and you're going to make them pasul, imagine all the people in the beginning that they didn't know anything about it. Imagine right now you come and you give testimony in Nisan. And now I come and I use you as an ad for a halva. And I use you as an ad for a sale. And I use you as an ad. Why not? Well, you're a kosher Jew. Why not? And all of a sudden it comes to Rosh Chodesh Iyar and I disqualify you. Not me. Like the Bedin comes and they disqualify you. Now what happens is if they're going to come, they're going to disqualify you. Imagine everybody in the middle that they're going to lose out now because of you. Because now you want to collect your loan, you don't have 2 witnesses. You want to have the sale, you don't have 2 witnesses on the sale. You want to do this, yeah, exactly. Kiddushin also that. Do you know any things that so because of the pseid of the lekuchot, right? That if it's going to be lemafreya, that if I'm going to go retroactively and disqualify everybody, he comes and he says it's going to make too much losses. So because of that, the rabbis instituted that it's only from now onwards. Meaning, technically speaking, Rabbi he agrees up by in Sfara. It only makes sense. Like, I don't understand. When did he do the Rasha? He did it on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So what changed on the 5th of Nisan? Something changed? Nothing changed. So maybe he was still a Rasha. Nah, אבל הוא רק הוזם עכשיו. זאת אומרת, אתה אומר, חזר בתשובה דקה אחר כך.
can we imagine that he was a fourth?
That's the Gemara. My ben Aihu, what is the difference then between Rava, right, and the two different Esberim in Rava? Whether it's because the Be'emet, he holds like Abaye, or doesn't hold like Abaye, Psed Lekuchot. So he says, Da'asidu be'trei lechad, utrei lechad. When you had two witnesses that are testifying, right, of the Edim Arishonim and saying, Imanu yitem, hayitem makom plonim, makom achet, and then another two witnesses on the Ed Hashani. So in such a case, there's no chidush that the two witnesses are going to become believed against the one witness. So it's going to be one, right? Because it just makes sense. One more time, everyone, what did Rava say? Rava said that it's actually a chidush. Yeah, why do you believe the two witnesses? The ones that are making them zomim? It's 2 against 2. So comes the Gemara and says, you know when the chidush is? The chidush is what happens if you have 2 witnesses against one of those edim, saying you were with us. And then another 2 witnesses against the second ed, saying you were with us. In that case, it's not a chidush. It's obvious that we're going to believe the 2 witnesses against one witness, or the other 2 witnesses against the other witness.
So the first 2 against the new one, and the first 2 against the new one.
There's, again, you've got 2 witnesses. They come and they're testifying.
Right.
I have another 2 witnesses come and say
2 against 1.
So that those 2 against 1 obviously is going to be believed. And the other 2 against this one is obviously going to be believed. So it's not a chidush. Rava said, why do you only do it from now onwards? Mikan ulaba. Because it's a chidush. What's a chidush? It's 2 against 2. When you have 2 witnesses go against 2 witnesses, they come and they say, Imanu ayita, you guys were with us. So you made them edim zomim. Why are you believing the last 2? Maybe the first 2 are right. It's 2 against 2. So it's Gzrat HaKatuv. So comes now and says, yeah, but what happens if it wasn't 2 against 2? It was 2 against 1. Right. And 2 against 1. There's no chidush. Obviously, you're going to believe the 2 against 1. It only makes sense.
Sorry. It's 4 new edim that are making the 2 zomimim.
Yes.
Okay.
2 against 1, and then 2 against 1.
It's pshita.
It's pshita. That's exactly what we're saying. It's obvious. Inami, or another case, the paslinu bagazanuta. They made them pasul because of something else. That, for example, they're not being soter bichlal ledut rishona, but they're just saying there's another psul in the gufa edim. Meaning like this. What was the psul that we're talking about of edim zomamim? The psul of edim zomamim means, how could you testify that this guy stole it? You guys were with us. These 2 witnesses are not coming and saying that you were with us. Did the guy steal? Maybe. I have no idea. But 1 second. But you guys cannot be edim. Why? You're thieves. And since you guys are thieves, yeah, so if it doesn't help.
I mean, they were psulim from before.
Yes. Yeah. So lehach lishna de amarta. So this lishna that now says mishum chidush, right? Because it's a chidush, leka, right? It's not kayam in such a case, right? So Rava is going to agree in such a case that they do become pasul mafreya. Because it's not a chidush. They became disqualified not because of 2 against 2, because they were gazanim or they were whatever it is. It was another psul. Lehach lishna de amarta, but now that you tell me it's because of pseder lekuchot, you still have pseder lekuchot. You still have the fact that people are going to lose in between, meaning people are still going to be losing out money or losing out different things. So therefore, it still happens. So Amar Rav Yomi Medifti, Avad Rav Papa Uvda Kaveted Rava. Do you know that Rav Papa did like Rava, which means they came in front of him, they were edim zomim, and then what he did was he only went and he said it's from now onwards. And Rav Ashi did ilchata Kaveted Abaye. The ilchata Kaveted Abaye bial kigam. But the halachas like Abaye in the cases of Ya'al Kigam, the ayin of Ya'al. Meaning it's an acronym. Ya'al Kigam. The ayin of Ya'al is ed. That an ed zomem becomes pasul mafreya. So we pass him like a baye in those cases. Meaning, Rava v'abaye hilchata kerava. Usually the general rule is, when you have a machloket Rava and Abaye, we pass him like Rava. Except for Ya'al Kigam. Those are the cases. The ayin of Ya'al is ed. Which means the ed zomem. That it becomes pasul mafreya. So therefore, we paskin halacha l'maaseh that an ed zomem becomes pasul mafreya. He becomes pasul retroactively. Okay, this is where we get to the question.